And welcome back to another episode of Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff and Matt as we recap last night's victory. Defensive battle, which we don't even see. It's very rare now in the NFL these days. But the Eagles and Packers went at it. Defensive battle left and right throughout the entire game. Scoreless at the halftime. But the Eagles come away with a huge divisional, or not divisional, but conference win against the Packers at a very tough place to get a win, and that is at Lambeau Field. So we're going to obviously go through the game and talk about some the highlights as we normally do. Before we get started, though, make sure you like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Comment if you like. And so let's get right into it, Matt. Opening thoughts on the game before we get to highlighting the individual players.
Well, first of all, I'm one of those people that doesn't mind a defensive game. I don't think it's boring at all if you know what you're watching. So for these fans that are like, oh, it was a slow game or boring game, I'm like, yeah, I don't think you know much about football. I thought the battle was awesome, and I thought it was articulated with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. When they got to the end of the first half, it's 0-0, and they're like, I don't know if I've seen a more entertaining 0-0 game than what we were watching, because the defense was good, and I don't know, you just expected that at some point one of the teams is going to make a play. And it just became the Eagles made the Barkley play and the Smith play on the one drive that got them the one score. And then, questionable calls. I'm sure the OC is going to get a lot of flack again for Eagles fans being perturbed with his play calling. But I didn't think that they actually played. That didn't stand out to me. Like, the play calling didn't stand out to me, although I am tired of seeing 3rd and 15 runs. Like, you've got all these weapons on offense, and you can't throw on 3rd and 15 with some confidence to get like 8 or 9 yards. So
it's frustrating.
No, and you're willing to hand the ball off and get 4 yards, and if you're lucky, you get 8 yards. Like, why not just throw a slant and see if your receiver can bust one and break a tackle? Throw the 8 to 10 yard slant, and then see if he can get the last 5 on his own. I think that's. If I want to give A.J. Brown some credit for being disappointed or frustrated, I'm like, it'd be over those types of things. Like, why are we not throwing, easy slants on 3rd and 15 and let the receiver try to make a play? If he gets tackled, he gets tackled, but no big deal. I mean, if you're willing to go for it on 4th and 26 or whatever, fourth and whatever the yardage was on that last play with 26 seconds left, if you're willing to do that, and you're not willing to pass on 3rd and 15 is kind of ridiculous. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on it.
Great points, because, and I'm glad you brought it up about the overall general thought about the game. Because I go into work today, and first 2 guys I talked to, man, what a boring game it was. And to your point, it's like, this is kind of like the general consensus among NFL fans who watch the game. I'm like, man, I'm the same way. And I know what a boring game looks like and feels like. That was not a boring game. Yeah, you didn't have fireworks and long, big time scoring plays, or any scoring plays for that matter. But man, there's something to be said about good, hard-nosed, tough fought football between 2 really good teams in the ice cold weather, because it was the first real cold game of the year. It was in the 20s in Green Bay, and the field was slick, so there was a lot of, sloppy in that regard. Some of the guys early on in the game couldn't keep their feet under them, but I didn't think that was a boring game at all. In fact, I was just as wrapped up in that game as if it was 25-20 at halftime. So I don't get that either, other than just the fantasy aspect that, a lot of fans just watch the NFL for. They're not really truly tied into the game itself or the fanaticism of one team or another. So I think that's part of that play here. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed the game. Glad the Eagles won, of course, but it's 0-0 to halftime in a hard-fought game like that. Both defenses playing really well. I don't have an issue really either with the play calling. So to your point, I thought Green Bay just played a really good defense. Sometimes you gotta tip your cap to and their fans, I'm sure, complaining about their play calling, about that they couldn't get their passing game going. Well, the Eagles have a good defense, so
yeah, they do. Their Eagles defense is kind of underrated at this point, and I think it's only going to get better with the trades that Howie did. The one thing I'll say about it as well, the longer that game
we're going to talk.
The longer that game stayed 0-0, the more intense every single play became.
Yep.
So for people that have no attention span, yeah, I get it. You just want to watch red zone and see scores all day long. But if you truly love football, as every quarter passed and nobody had any points, every series became that much more intense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had no problem with the low scoring game.
No, me neither. Definitely not. Other than the fact, you obviously want your team to play well offensively and move the ball and score. Of course, it's not like that's not what Matt and I are saying. But sometimes you run against a good defense. We know Green Bay. It's tough to beat the Packers there, even when they're not good. It's a tough place to play. The elements were at play with the cold field and everything, and yeah, and hey, it could have been a different game too. The other point that I was kind of thinking about was the Eagles did drive down the field very methodically their first possession. And the Packer again made a really good play, punching the ball out of Hurts. But what if the Eagles went right down and scored? It was 7-0 right off the bat. The whole game might have taken on a whole different perspective. It might have been I don't know if it would have been a shootout, but it certainly would have been a game maybe in the 20s if the Eagles came down and scored first. Sometimes the game sort of shapes as it goes and it kind of takes on its own personality. And last night, that's exactly what happened. It ended up being probably with that first big turnover that Green Bay had and the way the Eagles defense was performing, it just ended up being a defensive, freaking knock 'em out, hard nosed football game and entertaining. I was entertained. You were entertained, and let us know if you were entertained. Just if you're watching this, if you're an Eagles fan, if you're a Packers fan, if you're just an NFL fan, what did you guys think of the game? Let us know your thoughts. All right.
One more thought I'll add.
Yeah.
They're segueing over. Besides the 2 missed false starts that on both teams, I thought the refs called a very good game. I didn't argue with any of their calls. I thought all of them were absolutely worth throwing a flag on, including all the pass interference ones. I know Campbell got called for PI on the tight end. But nothing else stood out to me really. I think was there one pass interference call that we were talking about and texting back and forth that we were like, oh, that was BS? There was maybe one call that frustrated me a little bit, but
no, there was one that I remember texting you saying that was PI. So
yeah, there was no flag.
I think they did call it. So yeah, overall, especially even though they blew the 2 both on their 4th down and 1 and our first push, they again they somehow they can't see the guy going early. I don't know. But either way, that kind of washed itself out. But overall, this has probably been one of the better refereeing games that we've seen in a while. I agree. Pretty much called it, definitely was pass interference on Campbell, who just kind of panicked. I mean, he really had the guy covered, but I think he just panicked a little bit and just ended up. He's a rookie. He'll learn. But that was definitely PI. The ones that they called on DeJean, he was a little huggy last night. You usually don't see that from him. He didn't have his best games. Probably the first game, when we grade the players out later. I mean, I'm never going to give the guy a D or an F, but DeJean is definitely – that was probably the first time that I've seen in his whole career where he kind of had a game where he struggled. They were kind of ticky-tack, but he definitely was holding a little bit, and they called him both times. But, yeah, just a great defensive performance by both teams. And I will segue right into let's talk about our predictions, first of all. We both had a close game, so we were 100% right about that. I had a 1-point game, and Matt, you had a 3-point game. So if we go by that, we were right within the margin of error or whatever. We just had a high-scoring game. I had a 27-26 final, and you had a 27-24 final. So other than, we knew it was going to be a close game. What's ironic is I went back into our preseason predictions, which I like to do every once in a while. We both had the Eagles losing this game.
Huh.
And just to go to like a to date record, right now I have the Eagles going to this Lions game with the exact record they have, 7-2. I do have them losing to the Lions. We'll see if that changes when we do our preview show. But right now I have the Eagles with the exact same record. I had them losing to the Bucks, which I was wrong about. And then I had them losing to the Packers. And had them winning all the other games. Obviously, they ended up losing to the Broncos and the Giants back to back. But anyway, record is exactly right. Matt, you had them with one additional loss at this point. You had the Eagles at 6-3 with losses to the Buccaneers, Broncos, which you called the Broncos one, and the Packers.
Hmm.
So, but you haven't beaten the Lions, at least the preseason prediction. All right, so more to come on that game as we preview that later this week. Now, let's get into the game itself. First of all, what a debut. And let's score Howie with some high marks already. Both of I love the pickup. We both talked about, the pickup of Jalen Phillips. And man, what a debut he had. I think he had 6 or 7 tackles. I think he had 6 quarterback pressures. He had the tackle for a loss. He had a fumble recovery. He was a menace already, right? First game as an Eagle. He played and looked awesome. So I definitely wanted to obviously talk about him off the top here. So what are your thoughts on Phillips?
Well, he's nice to have on the other side of the line, right? So, even if he gets a little bit more attention, then you see other players like J.L.X. Hunt get a little bit more action and opportunity going on. So, he's just another guy that I think in just like we talk about Jalen Carter's an all-pro, but just right behind him, Phillips makes an impact almost on every play just because you have to account for him. And then so those other guys are able to do their thing. So Ajomo had a good game. The whole defensive line had a really good game.
Yeah.
And that's apparent when you look at Josh Jacobs' final stats. Like he's Josh Jacobs. So he had that incredible touchdown run. Like that dude is a load. He doesn't look like a load, but he's a load. And when to go barrel forward, he'll move. So to hold him under 100 yards and the touchdown with him that's good. They didn't let him run away with the game on a cold day. That neither team, they were about equal. I thought Barkley and Jacobs were kind of like a wash on the scoreboard. Barkley had the one big screen pass to get him set up for Smitty's touchdown, and then Jacobs.
You had 100. Yeah, Barkley had just over 100 all-purpose yards in the game.
100 all-purpose, yeah. So not too bad. Like they did a pretty good job. Jacobs was really their only threat. The other impact player I thought on the Eagles' defensive side of the ball was Nakobe Dean. So he's the other one that I had up there. Phillips, awesome to see him active. Carter was active. The whole front four was active. They were kind of playing more of a 3-4 the whole game. That's they had Ojomo, Carter, and who's the other defensive lineman were hands on the ground, and even Graham played hands on the ground, and then they had the linebackers outside them. So it was kind of interesting to see. I don't know if I've seen the Eagles be distinctly in a 3-4 yet this season because they were in that 2 linebacker with. Well,
it looks like Phillips likes to start from a standing.
Yeah.
Stance.
So it looked
like I don't remember seeing him
4s
too often. Pretty much. Yeah.
So with no step back and all that. So I thought Dean and Jalen Phillips and Carter were the 3 best players on defense.
Yeah, by far. Yeah, those 3 were the standouts. I mean, we talked about it during the game, or we texted about it during the game, is how quick sideline to sideline and what a solid wrap-up tackler Nakobe Dean is. I mean, he, as good as Campbell is, and you like to see the rookie out there because he's played well, Nakobe Dean's just a better player right now than Campbell is. And the defense is better having him out there. And what's great about it is he doesn't look any worse for wear from that major knee injury he had. So they definitely put that knee back together, right? So because he
looks better. He looks like he hasn't missed a step at all.
Yeah, he looks really good, and he is that leader out there. There was one play early in the game, or maybe the second quarter, when it was again a defensive back and forth, and he's just out there. He's the guy that's like talking up. He's talking to the sidelines. He's the guy that's like motivating and doing the pep talks and the huddles, and all that kind of thing, and leading by example too. Like we were talking about, making the tackles, making a lot of big plays, containing. Jacobs is dangerous. He can catch the ball well, and he can obviously run the ball well, and they contained him. That was key because he really was the only weapon. They don't have Kraft, their tight end, who went down with an ACL last week. Might have been a different game, or at least they would have had another real weapon to worry about defensively for the Eagles if Kraft was still in there. But that other wide receiver, though, played pretty well. They had a rough time with him. What was his name? It started with W. His last name.
Wicks.
Wicks. Yeah, he basically was catching everything out there. And really was the only once Dobbs went out, he got hurt late during the game, and once he went out, they didn't really have much for wide receiver because they still have. Well, they got Gonzalez. Is it Gonzalez? Christian
Watson.
Christian Watson. So Watson's their deep threat. They tried to go after Q a couple times deep, and Q was just on him. Q did a good job on Watson. He's their deep threat guy, and Reed is the other one I'm thinking. But Reed, who they thought might be activated for the game, but he ended up staying out as well because he's another good weapon. So granted, Green Bay was without some of their weapons offensively. I'm sure that helped the Eagles a little bit, not having to worry about those guys. But I thought Vic once again has got this defense playing well. I thought he blitzed at the right times. It seems like every time the Eagles did blitz, which wasn't a lot, but man, Vic knows when to dial that up because the blitzes were effective every time he did send extra guys. It worked.
Well, Jordan Love just is not impressive to me. Like he missed a bunch of wide open guys that would have turned the game around if he just saw it and then threw the ball out. Or just threw the ball on the wrong side of the receiver. Like if he let him into space where they could make these catches, there was one pass to Jacobs that clearly was on the wrong side of where Jacobs was supposed to be trying to catch it.
That one I think was on Jacobs. He turned the wrong way.
That one may have been wrong.
That would have been a huge play though.
Before they got stuck trying to kick that field goal, he missed a wide open Watson.
Yes.
If he threw the ball further to the left in the green space, nobody gets Watson on that. And that's at least going to be in the red zone.
Yeah.
Not a touchdown at that point. So, he missed a couple big throws and, every quarterback does, but I'm like, I don't know. I haven't seen Love truly have a good game where he's like, puts it on paper and you're like, oh, now he's there. He'll take off from here. I haven't seen that in like 2 years. And I keep expecting him to do more. And he's now falling for me down into like Trevor Lawrence category.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think that he was kind of having an upward projectile and he's kind of plateaued the last couple of years. I agree with that 100%. It's a good evaluation, I think, of him. He hasn't really taken his game to the next level in the last couple of years. He's been kind of he's just okay. I mean, he's just he's not terrible. He's not great, but he's kind of
great athlete, lots of arm talent.
Yeah,
ball a mile. He can make every throw, but it's just like I don't know.
So the other thing is I wanted to talk about because this is mind-boggling to me, and then what makes it even more just so word more mind-boggling, more confusing, more stunning as to what the heck Sirianni was thinking on that fourth down play when they were just trying to run down the clock. Suddenly he feels the need to chuck the ball downfield or call a play rather than to just punt the ball. But then in the conference, the press conference, I don't know if you saw it afterwards, his after-game press conference, his reasoning for it, he didn't even mention punting. So it appears that the punt didn't even cross his mind. He was either thinking about going for the field goal, kicking the field goal, or calling a play. And I'm like, Nick, punt the ball. You punt there.
Yeah, and
he wasn't even considering punting at all.
No, I would have called like a QB draw play on that, just a run or something where you did like a fake or a bootleg. That's what I would have called, just so that you had one more run that was pretty well, you don't have to worry about a fumble or anything too much, and just run so that you got some seconds going off the clock. As soon as the player's down, though, I mean, I don't know, like if you do a run play and they get tackled, it's the last play, so it's not like time ticks off. The clock stops either way. So you either punt it, which you decided not to do. I'm not necessarily against the play call for the pass because I don't know. But even if you ran it there,
think about this though. You got to factor in that. Yeah, you got to factor in also though on the third down play they passed the ball and incomplete, so they actually stopped the clock twice in a row.
Yeah, I mean honestly, like what would happen if you just did an intentional grounding? Nothing. You would just turn the ball over. Like the penalty is loss of down. You don't like what is it? I guess that would have given him a 15-yard penalty. I guess
there is a penalty and loss of down.
Yeah, part of me was thinking like just have Hurts run backwards and like
someone said that on the radio today. Just have him run all the way to and take a safety.
So get it down to
Like
0-0, and then
red zone.
off. And you gave them 2 points, but they can't do anything after that. You
That
know,
would have been funny. That would have been funny because Hurts would have had to run back 60 yards into the end
60
zone.
yards. Yeah. You know, and just the problem is you'd have to get there. You'd have to
Right.
get
He could probably chase him down. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yep.
You almost would have him
I,
hand it off to like Smitty and
Yeah.
Smitty run it back.
right. Just give it to your speed guy. I mean, this is like Belichick, Vrabel type thinking, right? Like give it to your speed guy and have him go that way. Nobody's going to catch him. That would be it. Yeah, Hurts would probably be caught, but I'm like, I don't, you know, I just, when you start thinking about that, I'm like, the play is not as bad as it seems on the surface to be like, Nick, what are you doing there? You know, like, I don't mind it.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, well, the thing is, it's a very low percentage play when you just heave it down the sideline and hope your guy catches it. That's just so. If you're going to run a play, then run something more high percentage than that.
Yeah.
Secondly, just punt the ball. Just have a pooch punt.
Yeah.
Because, you know, even if you kick it in the end zone, they're still starting at the 20 versus the 35.
And you can always
still picking up 15 yards and giving them only 30 seconds left, you know, to do something with it with no timeouts.
No, and you could take the 5-yard delay game penalty.
I don't know, just the fact that take the 5-yard, exactly. Yeah. So that was just it, you know, like I said, it was strange, and I was like, what the hell's he thinking when it happened? And then his answer in the press conference made even less sense because he didn't even think about punting it. He was just trying to think about either going for the field goal or calling a play, so I don't know. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I had to talk about it because that was just strange.
He would have gotten crushed if they lost, for sure.
Yeah, and it gave the Green Bay Packers a chance. They only had to go about 20 yards and give this guy a chance to kick a 60-something yard field goal, which in his practice kick, which somehow he got off. I don't know how they gave him a practice kick, but, you know, that one only fell like 3 or 4 yards short. You know, he was pretty close.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw, like, you were able to get a good shot at the replay. Did they actually get a piece of that kick, the actual attempt?
I never saw a replay, but I thought it went off like just somebody's forearm.
I couldn't tell.
I thought it just barely.
It looks like it did
check off somebody's hand.
Yeah, I think they did get a piece of it, but it was just too hard to tell. Like initially, I thought he was just booted it badly.
Yeah.
But you know, when I saw it again, I still have not got a good view of it. It does look like someone got a piece of it. Either way, Eagles hold on 10-7, huge conference win. And you know, divisional. I keep saying divisional. What I mean to say is defensive battle between the two really good defenses. Like I was impressed by Green Bay's defense. I didn't think they were that good, but they really played well. Because I didn't think that the Eagles' offense. Yeah, you would have liked to see them score more points, but I really just give Green Bay's defense credit. I just think they just did a good job against the Eagles. I really don't. I don't have an issue with the play calling, like you mentioned. Don't like I typically usually do have when they play sloppy or can't score. I really just think Green Bay played a hell of a game on defense.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into the player grades. So, who did you give out A's to? You want to just list them?
Well, yeah.
Go ahead. We'll start with you.
Well, I already mentioned Dean would have gotten my A on defense, along with the whole defensive line. But I'll just I don't want to get too far ahead. But on defense, I thought Nakobe Dean for sure. And Q played his regular game, but I thought Dean was my highest rated player on defense. He stuck. He was so fast to react to the running plays where if you're not there, they get a block and then Jacobs could be gone on a couple of those plays. And instead, Dean is just diagnosing real fast. And then he's super quick to the ball. He's putting a body on that guy, either at the line of scrimmage.
And he doesn't miss tackles, man.
No.
He just does not miss tackles. He's a great tackler.
So he's my number. He's out of last night's game.
So you talked about. Yeah, I think it's almost 1 and 1A with him and Phillips. I thought for a debut guy in his first game on the road with his new team, I thought Phillips was a definite impact player. He made a difference out there in the game. So those two are the guys that really, really stand out. And I think you got to give Smitty credit. I mean, Smitty just comes up time and time again with huge plays down the field. I just love Smitty. I mean, I just when he caught the touchdown, I'm like, I just love this guy, man. I don't know how you could not love this guy.
Yeah, he's great.
He's and yeah, I always give him credit just for playing this sport with all these behemoths out there and the size that he is. He's one of the toughest freaking players in the whole league. Um, Gotta love Smitty. So out leaps that ball because it was a little bit short, and Smitty came back for it, out leaped the guy and brought it down. It's just guy's awesome. I give Lane. I just give him an age for just being a freaking beast.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy had a mate. I mean, I was like, we were both kind of fearing for the worst. We saw his knee bending like that. We're like, oh man, that doesn't look good. Apparently, it was an ankle injury, not even his knee. But guy at his age, I mean, he's a guy very easily. How many players would have gone out with an injury like that and not returned? Nope, not Lane. He's out there. He comes back out a couple of quarters later and gets back into the game. Hats off to that guy, man. I love Lane Johnson, man. That's going to be a big loss the day he hangs him up for sure. You mentioned Q. I had him on my A's. I had Carter on my A list. I think he had 5 pressures himself, and of course he had 2 batted down passes. So Jalen Carter with a big game. Thought Goddard was effective, and then they kind of went away from him. Like Goddard in the first half, I almost thought, like, is Goddard injured? Because I don't understand that sometimes. It's like guys having a good, they can't cover Goddard. He's making all these great plays in the first quarter, first half. Like that was the only time that they were really driving the ball or getting first downs. And then the second half, I don't think they threw to Goddard at all. I'm like, how do you just forget about? That's the only thing about Petula where I'm like, why do you just forget about guys?
Yeah, a lot of OCs and a lot of head coaches, I think, get too smart for themselves. And I'm like, just study Bill Parcells, please. If something works, you stick with it.
Yeah.
And you make them
stop candy and Splash.
Yeah, make them stop it before you move to other play, but just go back to it. Go back to the well. Like it's not often that they're going to be able to. If they can't beat it, then they're not going to be able to beat it, or it's going to open up something else. So I would keep going back to that well, and it seems like they start outthinking themselves. When the Eagles get stuck, it's because they're outthinking themselves. I thought Hurts had a good game too. To be honest with you, even with the fumble,
he missed some open guys though. He missed.
He did. He overthrew Calcaterra, and he overthrew.
One more. That was a touch. That was probably at least a powder.
Yeah, but I'm like,
he had a couple rough throws.
Yeah, 2 passes, but I still think like there's nobody. You look at. I watched the whole Pittsburgh Steelers game, and you got Aaron Rodgers overthrowing people and then getting mad at himself, getting mad at his receivers and all this stuff, and I'm like, you just like. Jalen Hurts is so calm, so cool all the time. And it's like, okay, even when he has a bad play and like the fumble, I'm like, I'm telling you, if he wasn't on top of the guy, he would have been down and that would have been a fumble. So, you got to still protect the ball. So that is on Jalen. But I'm like, I don't want any other quarterback in the league other than Hurts running my offense. That's how I felt all the way through last night's game. I believe we don't win unless Hurts is our quarterback last night.
I don't think I've ever seen Hurts, not you mention it, ever yell or get mad at any of his receivers for running around or dropping a pass, or which has happened.
And they do because they do it on every.
It's not happening. But you never see him yell at anybody.
Nope.
He just goes to the sidelines like he always does. Even if he goes to the sidelines as if he was the one that overthrew the ball. Like he won't put it on him, even if the receiver's fault for running around route or whatever. So yeah, you gotta. I mean, that's what makes Hurts. I didn't give Hurts I wouldn't say. I don't know. I'm a little more critical of Hurts yesterday than you are. And I'm not saying he didn't play well, but there were some passes he definitely missed. The fumble. You can't blame him for that. That was just a good defensive play. Plus, like you said, he would have been down if the guy wasn't underneath him. That's definitely true. So that was more like a fluke. That wasn't a typical Hurts fumble where he's reckless with the ball.
I'll tell you what, there was one pass he made, though, late in the game. Will Shipley's gets totally almost knocked on his ass on a little screen pass out to the flat. And Hurts throws this perfect lollipop as he's getting crushed by 3 defenders because Shipley got knocked out. It took him way longer to run the route that he got to.
Threw that early.
And they got like 9 or 10 yards on it. It wasn't for a first down, but I'm like, but just the basketball 3-pointer shot that he put up there, I'm like, is that ball? You couldn't even tell on TV if that was going to be accurate or out of bounds or what, but he dropped it right in the bucket. of Shipley. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, that was an exceptional play. So some of these ones that he missed, I'm like, I don't, he's no worse than like a B plus to me last night. And I'll take
Yeah,
that.
I might be being too hard on him because you got to, again, first real cold weather game too. That always factors in maybe some of these overthrows. It was a comebacker to AJ. I think he also missed. He threw it. I think it was AJ that he just threw it way. It almost looked like it was weird. So it almost was like maybe when he was like halfway through his pump, he like for a second was going to pull it back and if throwing it. That's what it kind of looked like to me. But yeah, I mean, he factored that in. The other play that you mentioned with Shipley was early in the game. I think it was the first series of downs when it was third down and like 8 or whatever. And he hung in there, avoided the pressure, running over to the right, and then threw that perfect pass to Shipley, who just caught it before he went right on the sideline.
Yep.
That was a big time play, big time throw. That's a hard throw to make.
Yeah.
Shipley, who was only in there for a few times, made some big plays in the game.
Good player.
Yeah, he's got good hands.
Yep.
All right. So anybody else with the A's? I had Jalen Hunt. I thought Hunt had an A game. Just he didn't do anything like too splashy, but in on some plays. I think he just played well. I think Hunt has put like 2 or 3 games in a row now together. Pretty good. Yeah, that's all I got for A's. You got any B's?
No, Brent Toth deserves some credit for playing center 2 games in a row now again, and to get 2 big wins. So he played well. He wasn't a liability against anybody, and the whole offensive line, where they muffed up. So the worst thing about the Eagles actually was the stupid penalties, right? So they had stupid penalty, and that was the part of their game. But at the same time, Parsons didn't sniff Hurts, like they handled Parsons. They played pretty well overall as an offensive line unit, with Lane in there, with Fred Johnson in when Lane went out. But I don't know. Everyone else just kind of played well, I thought, overall. Man shanked the punt, so he's coming down from his like streak.
It just means he's not perfect because otherwise that guy's been great the whole season. So he almost completely whiffed on that punt. It was that would have been funny. He just barely got a piece of that. So, like, he almost completely missed the punt.
Yeah. I mean, Quentin Mitchell, I don't know. Everyone else played at least at a B level to win that game, in my opinion. Nobody, really rubbed me the wrong way. AJ, I don't know. Like, he doesn't get the ball enough to really grade him out. But
yeah, it is puzzling why the Eagles don't throw to him more. Yeah. I don't get it. And, I don't like when AJ gets all huffy and puffy about it, but at the same time, it's like, come on, you only threw to him twice, except for the last play of the game.
Yeah,
like you got to throw to him more. I mean, come on, I don't get that part. They got to. We say it every week. They got to throw to him more. I don't know what's going on there. It's weird.
They should get 5 to 7 targets a game, and I'm like, why are you not doing that?
Yeah. Yep. Thought Barkley had, if I was going to put somebody in the B, I'd put Barkley. He just had a good, typical Barkley game. Obviously, he made that huge play before Smitty's touchdown. That was really the 2 offensive plays of the game for the Eagles. They made, Barkley made that spinorama on the guy, went about 40 yards downfield. The next play was the dagger to Smitty. So Barkley, and he ran hard like he normally does. I mean, he's just a tough guy. He wears down. Even when he's not having a good game, breaking out for 165 yards rushing or whatever, he still is a load to bring down. And he wears that defense down. There's no question. He's a hard guy to tackle. Ask Micah Parsons. I tried to trip him. Micah didn't even try to tackle him on one play. He tries to trip him. I did catch it on replay, Matt.
That's the one play that I was frustrated that there wasn't a flag, because that was so clearly a trip. I saw it real time, and I'm like, trip him. Like, literally tripped him with his leg. Like, they call that all the time. Yeah,
leg whipping. They even call leg whipping as a penalty. Yeah, so that's the thing about the reffing. They'll call some ticky-tack penalty, and then they miss a guy. I mean, he's making the tackle. He's all the eyes should be on that play.
Yeah.
Not single ref.
He can't wrap him up until he gets him with his leg, and it's a totally intentional move. I thought.
Totally intentional, yeah.
That one was the only one, though. I'm like, come on.
I missed it live. I had yeah. And you get hurt too. Like even Micah could get hurt doing that. But you could have like leg whipped and broke his what do you call it? Not what's it? The femur that's below the knee. Is it the femur bone?
Tibula.
Tibia. Thanks. What's the femur? Is that the thigh bone?
Knee to the thigh, right?
Okay. Yeah. So the tibia. Yeah. I mean that you could leg whip a guy like that and break your own leg too. Like Micah's just stupid for doing that. And Ojomo, like I remember seeing it. Like you caught the leg whip or the tripping, and I caught Ojomo on that play going, "Yo!" Like you didn't have they didn't have the mic'd up during the game, but you could. I saw him going, making all these motions. I'm like, and then they just totally swarmed him. Like Ojomo called that play, like he was calling it out, and then they had him mic'd, and I sent it to you on social media so you could actually hear it. He's actually calling the
zone read that
he's
way.
like, yeah, they're running red cap. So Jomo's. I mean, we saw it before the season. We were high on him. We thought that he would be able to, plug that hole with Williams going to the Patriots. And I'll tell you, Jomo's a good freaking player. And I thought Reed Blankenship played pretty well as well. So I'm going to give a shout out to Reed. Just thought he had a solid game. Didn't do anything too crazy, but just good tackling. Nobody gets behind him. He's always in on the play. And you mentioned Cameron Mann, so that's all I got for those guys. So, yeah, big win. Now we turn our attention to probably the marquee game of the season.
Yeah.
The high-powered – the Eagles going to have to score next week. So maybe they were just keeping everything in reserve. They're not going to win and beat the Lions by scoring 10 points. So, but they got the Lions in Philly. Dan Campbell's another guy who coaches a lot like Sirianni. Will go for it on fourth down a lot. Be an aggressive coach. A lot of good elements in this game. It's a Sunday night game too, I think, right? Next week?
Gotta be.
So it's the second straight marquee nightly matchup game for the Eagles. Short week for them, so Detroit will have an extra day to prepare. Sometimes that plays a role. But thankfully, other than Lane, and I haven't got any update on him, but I would imagine, although sometimes not always the case, when a player comes into the game just because they have the adrenaline and all that. But because he took so much time before he went back into the game,
he's fine.
I'm thinking Lane's probably going to be all right for next week because they need him. Because they have a guy called Hutchinson on the Lions that they're going to need Lane for.
Yeah.
One of the best pass rushers in the league. But again, I don't fear these guys. As long as we have Lane in there and Mailata, even the only thing with Mailata, he was the one that had a lot of the penalties yesterday. Like, dude, learn to count, dude.
Yeah.
Mailata, that's the only knock against Mailata. He is the one that always gets those penalties. False starts. It's like
we'll talk about it when we break down the Lions and Eagles game. I'm not too concerned about the offense versus defense matchup, but I am concerned about their offense versus our defense. That's where the true test is going to be of like, okay, what do you got up your sleeve?
They got a lot of weapons, but what I'm hoping they do, and we'll talk about the game, but just really quick, one thing that I'm going to certainly mention during our pregame show is that one thing that the Vikings did when they upset the Lions 2 weeks ago, is their defensive coordinator, they sent a blitz or at least blitz-like looking packages to keep Gibbs in the backfield as protection. So Vic's smart like that too. So hopefully Vic picks up on that because that's one way to contain Gibbs.
Yep, they can pass pro.
One of the most dangerous running backs in the league. Yeah, and if you're getting, and that's what the Vikings did. They were pressuring Geoff the whole game. And so they had to keep Gibbs back there as protection. And then therefore they couldn't, use him as much as they would like to. Hopefully Vic is going to school in that game and does something similar to that because, man, if Gibbs gets going, he's tough. And then it opens up everything else for that offense. So we'll see. It's going to be a good game for sure. It's going to be fun to preview it. So with that, Matt, any closing comments before we
No, I don't care if they're ugly or pretty. It's another win in the column, and we're in the driver's seat of the entire NFC. So we need to stay there. We need to take care of business against the Lions, and hopefully some things open up to be a little bit more explosive. But I'm not sure the Lions have played anybody like Barkley yet either. So they're gonna have to figure out how do they stop Barkley, because we will pound him and pound him and pound him if we need to. So,
yeah, that's what makes the Eagles tough, because we can run, we can beat you by the run, beat you by the pass, and we got a good defense. So,
yep.
Yeah, no doubt. We always talk about, the Eagles' concerns about who they're playing, but certainly the Eagles give any teams fits because they can beat you so many different ways. So, all right. With that, like Matt said, we got another win, 7-2 going to this big game against the Lions on Sunday Night Football. So we're looking forward to that. Matt and I will probably do that pregame show on Saturday morning. If you got that open, we'll probably do it Saturday morning this week. If not, it could be earlier, could be sooner.
Thursday or Friday, maybe.
Yeah. So just make sure you like and subscribe especially so you don't miss that preview show. Comment below, and that's it for now. So until next time, thank you again for watching. And as always, fly, Eagles, fly. See you next time.
Go Birds.